This podcast is a proud member of the Unidentified Network.
On the Track is a web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
So what's in today's show, Mr. John?
Well, Hennis, this week we go back to Portugal for our second visit to the lovely Vera Cardoso, who's going to be talking about werewolves. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode. Hang on. What's that happening over there? It looks like we have been transported to a part of the home counties.
And now, and in colour, it's time for Gwen Dibley's Words of Wisdom.
When a newborn man obtains wealth, he will carry an umbrella at midnight.
Well, let's try again. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of On the Track. My name is John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and in the co-pilot seat this week is none other but Richard Freeman and Archie.
Hello.
That was oddly disturbing. I'm not quite sure why it's disturbing, but it is very, very disturbing. Every Wednesday evening at 6:30 for about a quarter of an hour, and every Saturday afternoon at 3 for about twice that, although timings are open to interpretation, we bring you a melange, a mixture, a mishmash, What else begins with them? What else begins with them, Rich?
Massis spondolis.
What is a Massis spondolis?
It's a type of late Triassic dinosaur, a prosauropod related to Plateosaurus.
And what has that got to do with the contents of this show?
It's an animal, and we are animals and men.
Okay, we bring you a Massis spondolis of hard science, weird shit, and surreality. And because we have the boy Freeman in the studio today, and I'm sure some of you don't know what surreality is. What's surreality, Richard?
Today we're going through the round window to a meat rendering plant.
I don't know about you, Richard, but I think one of the things I enjoyed most about Daniel's conference last November was meeting Vera Cardoso.
Yes, she was really nice, and it was good to hear some stories about Forteana from Portugal, because it's one of those countries you don't hear much about.
And Portugal, I don't know if you know this, but Portugal are England's oldest allies. They've been allies of England since I think about 1200. And it's a very important country in British and English history, and it's a place I've always wanted to visit. Now, the stories which Vera tells me are totally fascinating.
Yes, yeah, and we're going to be publishing a book, aren't we?
I very much hope so, and you'll be able to read all about this soon. But first of all, have a look at this, the second part of our interview with Vera Cardoso. Enjoy. Tell me a bit about your local werewolf stories.
In here, what we have is this. We are in the contraband area. everything in the border, especially during the 20th century. It was a contraband area. So we have poor people starving, and we have, like, imagine, they can have bread in the Spanish side, but not in the Portuguese. But then in the Portuguese side, they have, for example, milk. So during the night, they kind of trade with each other. They have the guard. Of course, it was totally forbidden. A lot of people die because of that. They were, well, I'm not going to say that they were murdered, but because the guards were doing their work, right? They could not allow them to cross. But it's a very sad story, because we are talking about people that they really just wanted to give food to their families. So that was just because of that. But yes, it was during those nights that people hear things in the woods. They have, not all of them. So we have a huge number of people that never saw anything. So, or they are lying, or they really never saw anything. But then we have like three different kinds of people. We have those ones that never saw anything. We have the ones that were so scary that any shade could be a shadow, okay? Something bad. And we have the ones that really saw something. And sometimes they were not alone. So it was like a group of 3-4 people. But those are the ones that it's still difficult to make them speak. And now the majority have around between 75, 80, and 90. So very old people. And before I lose all of them, that's why I'm here. I was here 2 years ago doing a huge investigation to a village close by, and yesterday we were speaking about that. I already lose a few of the men and women that are in my video, in the documentary, they already died. But I have the opportunity to speak with them and to hear their stories. And so the thing about this region, that's the region of the lynx. So when you speak about lynx in Portugal, it's this one, Malcata, Subgal. And I heard, like in 2008, 2009, I was living like 45 minutes from here in the center of Portugal. And I heard the old people saying that there were werewolves. So they describe a few things that happened with them, men's and women's. A few of them from the old Jewish community that survived since the 16th century. So they were the ones starting to speak about those stories with me and show me a few places. And they start saying, Vera, once per week, we know that we should shut the doors around midnight because we hear someone's crashing. And we know that it's a werewolf because a few of us already saw them. We don't know how to explain. It's like a giant beast covered of, and like covered of with hair. And there's a lot of different persons saying different things about werewolves. So there's a few people saying that it's like a man and a wolf. We have the ones that I discovered that they were more connected. What I know now, that's the name. It's a dogman, just with a body completely connected with men. And then it's just a dog head. And then there's the other ones that's a mix of horse, man, wolf, weird, donkey, goat, something very weird. They don't really know how to explain. But everyone starts saying that once per week, every Thursday, I don't know why, They only remember of hearing their, their family, the oldest one, saying it's every Thursday, and around midnight we should shut the doors and be careful, because they kind of came from Malcata, this area of Portugal, and they run to the highest mountain of Portugal. That's the Estrela Mountain. Estrela means a star in English. And there is a little village, that's Sabugueiro, in the top of the Estrela Mountain, and there, the people that still live in there, they still believe in them. And so that make me think that why? So I decided to come here and start to check. And in the beginning, everyone starts saying, no, we don't have that. We don't have, even just like fairy tales about werewolves. No, that's a lie. That's not true. So I'm here since, well, few years ago, and now I know that's not exactly like that. They just don't like to speak about that. And and what's more interesting is that in a few cases, not in the dogman case, but in the werewolves, there's a few persons saying that they can name the werewolves. They can say who they were, or who they are, and that's the more weird thing, But well, I'm still, like, even if I'm here for a few years, I'm still investigating that. That's one of the cases that really makes me think, because I think it's more than one creature. In here, it's not just like that legend of the werewolf. Because they are so different. The stories that the people told me about them, how they describe them. So it could not be just one creature. And imagine a werewolf, but in one case is like this and then it's like that. No, it must be different creatures. But because they don't know what they are, they give to them the only name that they know about. So that's the werewolf.
Have you ever met any of the people that it's believed turn into the wolf?
No, they don't allow that. Well, the thing is that there, like 8 years ago, probably, there was a lady, the grandmother of one of my colleagues, that she was telling me her story, and she was very young, so it was difficult, very young, so around 8-9 years. So it was, she told me that it was different to know how giant the creature was, but she could kind of describe. And when I asked her if there's still a werewolf in her area, she looked at me and she told me, Vera, I'm not going to point to the family, to name them, because you're living here for a few years, so if I told you the name, you are going to know exactly who they are. So that means that I probably knew one of the families, at least, in this case, the family of that village, and she didn't wanted me to know. But what she told me is that she was, in this case, in our days, not the creature that she saw it when she was just a young girl, but in our days, it's a woman. So it's not a male. So it's a female werewolf.
Oh.
And they believe that in the case of the females, a male or another werewolf need to beat them. So they don't, they kind of, they don't born like that. They are not born like that, right? So in Portugal, people believe, and in Spain, that the original werewolf, it's the seventh son of a seventh son. So that's the beginning of everything, like the witch, the seventh daughter of a seventh daughter. But after that, everyone could be it. The only thing is that if you hear them coming or saw one, you just need to run. They could not beat you, or you will become like them. So I'm not sure if I I really know, but well, she told me that yes, I will know who the lady was in this case.
In other parts of Europe, there are stories that various plants, like wolfbane, can, depending on the story, either attract a werewolf or repel it. Do you have those stories in Portugal?
Yes, you have a plant. I don't know the name in English. In Portuguese, it's a ruda. It's like something that you put in this case inside of the house, but in the top of the door, and that will protect the house so they could not get in. Not only the werewolves, in those cases, even the witches and other creatures, not all of them, but a few of them could not get in. But that's it. The only way to like cure a werewolf, because they say that there's a cure, it's with the same instrument that even today the shepherdmen use with the bulls and the cows when they don't want to move. Something, well, it's not going to kill them, but it's going to harm them. I don't know the name. It's like it's something big, and then they need to point to the animal. They need to touch the animal, make a little bit of blood, and then they say that there's always someone that can use that to change the werewolf, to take what they have inside, and they were no longer becoming werewolves every Thursdays. I don't know if it works or not, because the only thing that people says, the common people, is that it's possible to do, but there is no story about someone doing that. There's a lot of stories about, again, demons inside of someone. There's a lot, like in Exorcist, that we are full of that in here. So people that they still do, that still exist, and that exists all around the world. And people saw how they take whatever it's inside of the human body out, and what happened. It's like an explosion and things like that, and lights. But about the werewolf, no. They just say, no, it's possible. Yes, they can be cured. We can take, the animal from the human, but no one told me about a specific situation that thing happened. We have those in a fairy tale, but you can tell that's a fairy tale. It's not a real story. That it's totally very different. No.
Do you remember 5 or 10 years ago, and we're running out of time for this, we'll just do this one quickly, and then I'm going to have you back on the show in a month or so, and we'll do some more. But
okay.
Do you remember somebody filmed, there was a piece of film from one of the desert parts of Portugal going around that showed a Bigfoot-like creature, but it was naked, and it was walking like this through the middle of the desert. Do you remember seeing that, or?
No. Oh, but that's very interesting. But it's possible?
That for you.
Okay, I never... But it's in a place that it was like a desert?
Yes.
Maybe in the south, yes, in Alentejo. That's the hottest place of Portugal, and there's nothing there.
It looked like because I made a film in the Mexico desert years ago, and it looked like the Puebla Desert in Mexico. But I will I'll see if I can find that for you, because I'd love to know the truth behind that story.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one of the best images I've ever seen of a man-beast.
I really didn't know about that, especially because, I'm always trying to find something. I'm connected with a group, Stella, that we studied UFOs, site sittings, especially, that have already a lot of scientists connected. But for the rest, it's very, very difficult. It's like working alone, and we need to have patience. It's like today I was trying to interview a few people. There's a few, well, in a group of 10, there's 2 or 3 that could say, okay, well, okay, at the end of the day, because in here they work in the agriculture or with the animals during all day, so only at the end of the day they have a little bit of time to me to go there and speak with them, but it's very, very difficult. And of course, we have the reports, but there are no videos or image. If the Spanish ones have in the Pyrranean, they have a photo, I think, in this case of a Bigfoot, but in here it's not easy. And I'm going to tell you one thing, John, from my own experience. There's a lot of things that even if I have the camera in my hands or the recorder or whatever, if something happens, it's like I freeze, even if I have time, I don't know what to do. I just stay there staring the thing.
That's happened to me several times, so I know what it's like.
And that's why I understand these people because they think that we look to them and think, oh, you're crazy. They are not crazy and they are not lying. And of course, they don't have the material to prove and all of that. But I could have. I don't know how to explain. It's really, really very difficult. Well, we have one thing, but that's it. Just that. And we can explain you about that, but in that case, we don't really know what it is. It's about a light, just a light. It's a different kind of experience. But it was just luck, I think. We were not expecting that. In the real life, when we are doing our investigation, it's like I don't know. I don't really know. Because there's a lot of people saying that those creatures could have, like, let's say it's not a power. Everything have an explanation. We just don't know what it is. But let's say that they have a way to make us stop, doing a video of them or recording them or whatever. It's not that. It's our brain, it's our mind that say like, what? That's real, and it's something it's so wonderful. That's the thing. It's not about scare. I don't really have afraid. It's not that. We stay like, wow, and we kind of stay there, But of course, there's a few things that, and I imagine that you probably have a few scary tales too. Yes, right. Yeah.
Well, Vera, it's been lovely to talk to you. We've got to stop now because I have 4 minutes and 20 seconds left before we run out. But
okay.
What I want to do, because we only scratched the surface of what I'd like to talk about, so let's give it a couple of months and we'll do it all again with some more.
Okay.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer, who's an ever more regular visitor to my little studio, says, don't forget to ring the notification bell, otherwise you'll miss the new episodes.
And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it?
If you've been affected
by any of the topics in today's episode. You can just bugger off, because we don't give a monkeys. Bloody well get a grip! Sort your own bloody problems out, rather than ringing up somewhere.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the end of another episode. I don't know about you all, but I found that totally fascinating. What about you, Richard?
Yes, like I said earlier on, Portugal is a country that you hear so little of in terms of cryptozoology and folklore.
I was fascinated to hear that there are analogues to so many other European stories there, but they are ever so slightly different. I also had no idea that the part of Portugal she was talking about was so big in smuggling terms back in the 70s when Spain was still basically a fascist, the last surviving European fascist state. And I find the whole thing totally fascinating.
Yeah, Portugal seems to be like a law unto itself, a bit like the Basque area of Spain, very different from anywhere else.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to having Vera back on the show again. I don't know if there are any lake or river monsters in Portugal. Indeed, I don't know if it's got rivers or lakes big enough.
I can't think of any lake monsters. I'm pretty sure there were river monsters in legend, and I would be surprised if there were no sea serpents seen along the coast of Portugal.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Richard and I hope you enjoyed this episode, because we certainly enjoyed putting it together. I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody but for whom we wouldn't have managed to do it, and that is my guests, Richard Freeman, Vera Cardoso, and Vin McCrinnan. And I would also like to say a big thank you to my producer Louis, and to Graham, the Deputy Director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, who also doubles as my carer and helps me to and from the hospital and puts me to bed and gets me up in the morning and does all the things that I'm no longer able to do by myself. And I want to say a big thank you to the lovely Gwyn Palmer, Assistant Director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and I can't even begin to list all the work that she does behind the scenes. Thank you, both of you. I don't know what I'd do without you. I'm going to be back on Wednesday, and to be quite honest, I can't remember what I'm talking about on Wednesday. It might be, but I'm not promising, it might be something to do with Ian Scribbs and Loch Ness. But, Mr. McCrinnan, are you going to be watching the show, Mr. McCrinnan? Because if you are, and I'm there doing the notifications and the live chat and all the other stuff I do, and you're there watching it, I'll be seeing you. And this time I managed to get it without him getting in the way. Ha!